Let's continue our look back at the best in running for the year. These are my top 5 marathon racing shoes of 2024. Yo, what's going on? My name is Kofuzi and I'm a non-elite runner who reviews running shoes here on YouTube. And today I want to talk to you guys about my favorite marathon racing shoes of 2024. But before I go into this list, I do want to go over some disclosures. No one's paying me to make this video or to include their shoe on this list, and no one's gonna get a chance to preview any of my footage or my thoughts before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. So with that disclosure out of the way, let's talk about the top 5 carbon plated racers of 2024, and let's start with number 5. The 5 spot was difficult. There was a lot of shoes that I maybe could have put into this slot, but based on the things that I personally love to see in carbon plated racing shoes, the shoe that I'm putting in this 5 spot is from Hoka, and that's the Cielo X1. Now, a lot of people kind of discounted this shoe because it was a little bit on the big side, a little bit on the heavy side, but the things that I saw in this shoe that I really enjoy are the fact that it's a PIBA-based midsole foam from Hoka, but also they put a gigantic amount of foam in the forefoot, and they also put a lateral side cutout to make it easier to bend the carbon fiber plate that's in this shoe. All those things put together resulted in something that felt really good when you're landing on that forefoot and crushing that foam and then having it bounce back with the aid of that carbon fiber plate. So it was a really fun and springy experience that I got anytime I took this shoe, either for a long run with some marathon effort miles in it, threshold repeats, or for anything that might be even a little bit faster than that. I enjoyed it for all of those things. Yes, the weight definitely is an issue, and it would be much higher on the list if they could make that foam compress and decompress a little bit more dynamically, and if they could shed a little bit of weight. But as it is, the Hoka Cielo X1 comes in at number 5. That means at the number 4 spot is another shoe that kind of looks a little bit unusual and has a large amount of foam in the forefoot. That's going to be a theme that we're going to see throughout this list. And number 4 for me is from Puma. It's the Fast R2. In this year's version of the Fast R, they went to an aliphatic TPU foam, which is something that I don't think I had experienced prior to this year, and I'm glad that Puma is using it in the way that they are. You're getting a great amount of cushion and compression in that foam, and then it also snaps back really lively, but it's also durable kind of in 2 ways. One, it's durable in the sense that we all think about durability. It'll last a lot of miles. I have well over 100 miles in this shoe, and it still feels really fresh. But it's also durable within one long run as well. So that sense that like the foam is fading as you get deeper and deeper into a long run, that doesn't happen as quickly with the aliphatic TPU. It feels just as snappy at the end of a race as it does at the beginning of a race, and it's just been really fun to put in fast efforts in this shoe. And another big element of that is this exposed carbon fiber plate, which is very rigid, and I just have such a great time bouncing off of the front end of this shoe. If it were a little bit lighter, it would be a lot higher on the list, but because of the weight, which is really the only thing that holds it back in my mind, this shoe comes in at number 4. Now moving into the 3 spot is a shoe that has been making the headlines all year long, and that is the Alpha Fly 3. This shoe not only has the men's world marathon record, but it now has the women's world marathon record as well. So elites have been able to run in this really quickly, and I feel like a lot of non-elites have been also able to run well in the shoe. The ZoomX that's in the shoe feels like older original ZoomX or closer to it. And I think that's part of why this shoe ends up being so light. The only downside that I feel from this shoe, and I guess there's 2. One is that I feel like the AirPods moved in version 3 a little bit more towards the center of the foot. And for me in my foot strike, it just feels like I'm kind of missing or landing over or past the AirPods, so I'm not getting the full benefit of stomping on those AirPods and then bouncing back as they decompress. And the other thing is the way that the carbon fiber plate and the Zoom AirPods interact, at least for me and my non-elite foot strike, it feels a little bit kind of rickety. It feels like I'm running across like a plywood floor in a boxing ring. And so there's a little bit of a uneasiness when I'm running in it. It doesn't stop me from being able to run really fast and have a lot of fun when I'm running in this shoe, but it is something that I've noticed, and it doesn't quite feel as smooth as some other shoes on this list. But all those little complaints aside, it is a shoe that a lot of people have been able to run really well in, and this year it takes the number 3 spot. Moving into the number 2 spot is a shoe that is pretty much always on my list ever since the shoe first hit the market, and that's from Asics, and it's the Metaspeed Sky Paris. This year, the big change for the Metaspeed is that the foam went from FF Turbo to FF Turbo Plus, which really means that it went from a nylon-based foam to a PEBA-based foam. And the big thing that I've noticed is that the foam is a lot softer. So when you are landing on the forefoot of this shoe, you feel like you're really compressing a lot of that foam, and it's coming back in a nice and pleasant way. I will say that I think that it's a little bit on the mushy side, not to say that it's a mushy shoe, but compared to the bounce back that I would get that was very quick and springy from last year's version, I feel like the Metaspeed Sky Paris is a little bit less springy than I would like. I love the compression. I just wish it would decompress just with a little bit more energy return. But those little critiques aside, that hasn't stopped me from reaching for this shoe over and over again. In fact, I think that of all the shoes that I've reviewed in 2024, the most miles I put in on any one shoe is with the Metaspeed Sky Paris, because I just keep reaching for it again and again whenever I have those really tough workouts. And that's because I like the plate position in this shoe. I really like the foam that they're using in this shoe, and I love how lightweight it is. It's one of the lightest shoes on the market today. Now moving into the number 1 spot is another shoe from Puma. Puma is having a fantastic year this year, and this is the Nitro Elite 3. Again, this is using that aliphatic TPU foam that I loved in the Fast R2, but they're doing it in a very lightweight package. This is also one of the lightest marathon racing shoes on the market, and they've paired it with a very lightweight and minimal racing upper that is very comfortable to wear. This, like the Metaspeed Sky Paris, is a shoe that I've been reaching for those biggest workouts that always give me a little bit of stress as I'm looking at them on the calendar, and the Nitro Elite 3 have been able to help me hit those paces in those really tough workouts. Now, the geometry of the Nitro Elite 3 is very different than the geometry of the Metaspeed Sky Paris. The Nitro Elite 3 seems to be designed for the kind of runner who has a really quick turnover, and that's normally not how I would describe myself, but the shoe still works for me in a really pleasant and powerful way. And that makes me think that this is a shoe that I could recommend to a wide range of runners, and I think it will likely work for them. And because it's so light, because it's so much fun to run in, and because I think that it can work for a lot of different kinds of runners, that's why the Nitro Elite 3 takes my top spot as best marathon racing shoe of 2024. Now, I do have one additional shoe that I think deserves some honorable mention, and again, it's from Adidas. This is the Adios Pro 4. I had a chance to race the Berlin Marathon in this earlier in the year, but the reason why it's not in my 2024 list is because, like the Evo SL for my daily trainers list, this shoe technically doesn't become globally released until 2025, so I'm going to classify it as a 2025 shoe, and we're going to have to wait to see how things shake out in 2025 to see where the Adios Pro 4 ends up in the best of lists. So those are the shoes that I've been enjoying doing my toughest workouts and my marathon racing in. I'd love to hear what's been working well for you guys. Put it in the comments down below, or better yet, stop by the live stream that I do Mondays and Thursdays over on the Kofuzi Run Club channel. I'd love to see you guys over there in the chat. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I will see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?